with this stuff. Okay, I think I've got it now. Um, yeah, okay, so welcome to the Paraprofessional Lounge. This channel is where you will be in your power. This is a safe space for you paraprofessionals and substitute teachers looking to enhance your skills, empower yourself, create trauma-informed environments, which is your classroom, right? Or outside of your classrooms with your teachers, with your staff, with your pupils, with your students. My mission, really, as a trauma-informed mentor and author of this best-selling book here, How Do I Deal with My Emotions, is to help you dive into the world of the para perspective. I want to hear your feedback too. I don't want just me to be doing all the talking. I want to be able to support you. So please tell me what resources, what perspectives, what insights, what experts you would like to see here come and speak and share with you. You'll also have opportunities to purchase through separate links. Like if I have any type of enhancement program at a very low cost, because I know that paraprofessionals and substitute teachers don't get paid a lot of money. And I also know it's kind of a catch-22 because it's like we need the further education, not just education around like what we're learning academically for our students, but that emotional regulation education, coping strategies, relationship building, so many other things that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but I'm going to provide those to you. And I've done some amazing trainings with teachers. I have conducted professional development days where I have organized days and workshops for teachers, for pupils, for wellness directors, for principals. And I want to bring all that knowledge to you. So we're going to start there. And I wanted to kind of gift you a little something as we kick off this school year. And it says you're not hearing anything. Okay, I hope, meaning we are hearing something. Okay, it says we're recording, so hopefully that's good to go. Um, so the very first thing that I want to offer you is um I want to offer you this kind of perspective first. So when you're going into this school year as a paraprofessional, as a substitute teacher, I want you to think about how you're going to build positive relationships with students and staff. And I don't want you to just think about baseline communication, right? Because in listening, and that's all a given, like you're definitely going to want to do that. But I want you to take it a step further and I want you to think about how can I use trauma-informed methods that can support me building positive relationships with students and staff. Because these relationships that you're building in the beginning of the school year, I want it to sustain throughout. I want you to build those relationships as you go. So you feel more comfortable speaking, so you have a voice in the classroom, so you have authority in some way, so your ideas and perspectives and insights are also really rewarded and accepted and acknowledged. Like that's what I want for you. So there's a couple of things I want to take you through. I'll take you through the first two, and then I'm going to put a little mini workshop together. So if you want in on this mini workshop, and again, I know how, the major gripe with paraprofessionals and substitute teachers is that we don't get paid enough. And I completely agree with you. And that's not something I'm really going to combat during like my time supporting you. We can definitely have a conversation about it. It's a safe space for you here, but that's just over my pay grade, right? What I can do though is one of the things that I hear a lot of paraprofessionals talk about, and I've also said as a paraprofessional and substitute, is like we don't get enough extended education. We don't get enough of that emotional regulation education. We don't get enough trainings and workshops on like things that we can do to amplify our empowerment, to support us with relationships, to empower us with classroom activities and authority, to know when a child might be stuck in some sort of area of trauma or a teacher is not communicative, and how do we break through that barrier? we're not really trained in those things. So that's really where I want to step in and support you doing that here. So the very first thing is I'm going to give you two of those things to give you a little bit of a insight into my mini workshop. And if you want the mini workshop, you can comment mini workshop and I'm going to send it to you. The mini workshop is $19.97. That's it. $19.97 gets you, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 modules, along with a cheat sheet that you can take into the classroom with you. So don't fret, I've got your back in this whole thing. And you can also message me if you have any concerns or questions, or you can comment here on the page. Again, I'm new to YouTube, so I'm also created a Facebook group that we can also talk in, and I can support you there as well. And I'm going to put the mini workshop link in there too for $19.97. That's it. It's rare that you're going to get education for that little of a cost, but I really want to help you and support you and empower you. So that's what I'm here for. So let's go through the two that I'm going to give you for free right here is a little bit of a gift to you. Hopefully this will help you kick off your year. If you decide to do the rest of the modules, cool beans. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm here to give you free advice, free support, and this channel is to help you and to service you the best way that I can. So empowerment through respect and trust. So the very first thing we want to talk about is to show respect for each other. So here's the thing, you're coming in with unique experiences, perspectives, and strengths. And so is your fellow class teachers, ABAs, whoever's in there to support, paras, pupils, principals, whatever it is, counseling, whatever it is, guidance, it goes on, right? We're all coming in with these unique experiences and perspectives and strengths. The main goal as a para, I don't care what type of para you are and what student you work with, whether you work with one-to-many, like I worked in a group and sometimes I worked just one-on-one, that really doesn't matter. All that matters is how you're showing up to empower your students. And how you empower your students is by being able to respect and trust each other. It's like a give and take, a yin and yang. A lot of times I saw how paras were not respected and how some paras did not respect the teachers. And there was this discord in the classroom, and your kids can feel that. Your kiddos, your students, they can feel that discord and they're going to play against that, right? So you want to really be empowered. You want to empower your students and your staff by providing opportunities. This can look like contributing to decision making. So right as you enter school, I always recommend you have a meeting with your teacher. Once you are introduced to the teacher, sometimes I know it can be random, and sometimes you'll work with that same teacher, for a course of months, weeks, a year, whatever it is. I bounced around from classroom to classroom, but I also did work consistently with some teachers. So I felt it was really important in the beginning to set precedents. How I did that was empowering through respect and trust. Even if it's a 10-minute sideline meeting, you want to talk about your own unique experiences as a para, good, bad, ugly. You want to bring it to the forefront. You also want to offer your perspectives. And then, of course, you want to add the cherry on top and talk about your strengths. How can you support the classroom? How can you support your individual students or student? When your teachers hear that, they're going to get excited because they want you involved as well. And in return, I want you to ask them, hey, what unique experiences do you have teaching? What do you see to be helpful from a para to a student? What experiences have you had with other paras if this is like your first time working with this teacher? And have a conversation and then hear their strengths. Maybe their strengths are leadership, right? And you're kind of in the back side of it, just kind of in a little area of the room supporting. So they're leaders, your support, and that's okay. You can play off of different strengths from each other as long as you're not at a discord with each other. Okay. Also, you want to set this. You want to set that your voice is important. You desire building trust. And how you do that, lay it out. For me, it's transparency. I want the teacher to be transparent with me when there's something not right or when there's something going really good. Like, give me that reinforcement, give me that acknowledgement, right? If that's something that you really thrive off of, don't be afraid to come in sharing what you need to show up in your most empowered state. Okay. So for me, it was consistency and transparency. For you, it might be completely different, but I know for a lot of us, in order to build trust, coming from a trauma background, safety, consistency, and transparency is so important. Also, the creme of a creme, right? To say that right, creme de la creme, there we go, is communication. We want our teachers, staff, pupils, and students, parents, whoever's involved, to communicate. It's really important that we talk to each other, that we have check-in, that we have catch-up time, that we sideline sometimes, just so we're on the same page. This will make your job so much easier. I will tell you a quick little story. I was in a classroom as a para, and the kid was having a really, really difficult time. He kept tearing up the papers that the teacher was giving him, and the teacher was getting really frustrated. And so I offered to take the student outside with the piece of paper and let me just try to work. Like, I knew the child was overwhelmed. The teacher was leading the class with an assignment, and there was a worksheet involved. And he just wanted to go onto his Chromebook and just kind of just escape from whatever she was doing. That was his coping. And she was really struggling with this. And so I asked, may I take him out and just see if I can work with him like in a separate area? And she was adamant about allowing me to take the student out of the classroom. And she was really just trying to get him to keep the paper. She gave him like 5 different pieces of paper and he tore up all of them. And we wasted half the class going through this. It was a disruption to the rest of the class that was trying to learn the lesson. It was frustrating and overwhelming and dysregulating for the teacher. And it was really overwhelming and frustrating for the student because they were not getting their needs met either. So me offering to take them out was to separate the situation, and allowing me to separate them would let me see if I can work with the student. With that, not her not allowing that to happen, the class was just a bust. The kid ended up just on his Chromebook doing whatever he wanted. She ended up having the guidance person come and take him after the class. And I was frustrated with that because I was like, I knew how to work with this student. And I knew that if I could bring them outside of the classroom, take them out of the overwhelm, it would have been more effective than trying to keep giving the student the worksheet and them tearing it up and disrupting everyone else. So this is where communication is so important. We need to communicate with our teachers. That's why demonstrating that you have these strengths that can be offered is crucial. Okay. And then not allowing the teachers, if their method is not effective and you feel like your students are not getting their needs met, then you have a voice in that as well. I always say attack things with empathy and understanding, but don't be a doormat either. You are a crucial part, even as a substitute. If you're there substituting, we need you to have a voice, because without that voice, your leadership is unseen. Okay. So that is number one. And I hope that's helpful. And please let me know if it is. Number two, connection through active listening and validation. Now, this is more so for your students, right? So for the ones that are working one-to-one, or maybe even one-to-many, it really doesn't matter, but we can practice active listening while interacting with our students and staff. but focusing on understanding emotional cues. So going back to my situation, the kid that was tearing up the paper, that was an emotional cue of overwhelm. Now, there's no excuse for bad behavior. I don't care what the circumstances is. We can't condone disrespectful bad behavior. But in this case, and for most cases, these kids are just overwhelmed and they're what is it, outside their window of tolerance. And when they get outside their window of tolerance and the teacher is outside the window of tolerance, we just have a not a good situation. Okay. So active listening, looking at those emotional experiences, what are those nonverbal but emotional cues? This is where, as a para and as a substitute teacher, you get to validate feelings. I like to think of paras and substitutes as like the step parent. And I know it's kind of weird, but they're not the parent to discipline. That's the teacher's job. You're there kind of to be like, I see you, and validate the feelings when the parents can't, when the teachers can't, because they're busy like having this whole class situation going on, and you have a specific number of kids that you're dealing with, one or many of these kids, and you can give your undivided attention to them. So you can really, really support them by validating feelings and perspectives, by also acknowledging their experiences without judgment. And then going back to number one, going to the teacher or to the staff and saying, here's an opportunity for me to share with you this child's experience, and maybe we can communicate and do things differently next time, right? So they have a better experience, so the teacher has a better experience, and so you don't feel so burnt out either. Okay, so acknowledging, validating without judgment, then also creating an opportunity for dialogue, for collaboration, for fostering a sense of connection and belonging. You belong. A lot of times I hear from paras and their frustrations and substitutes, and the frustration is, I'm kind of a nobody. Nobody kind of sees me. I don't get recognized. I kind of get treated like crap. And I don't want that for you. Now, I know that can be case by case, and that can certainly be the case for you. And I'm not invalidating that as your experience, but I want to help you create a different narrative for this year. I want you to come in feeling like I can create this opportunity to have dialogue with my staff, with the teachers, with the guidance, whatever it is, and collaboration. Because what those two things do is it fosters a sense of connection and belonging for all of you. Another quick story. I went into para for a student that I had never met before. And the teacher, I got in there before the class even started, the bell even rang, and I got in there, and the teacher barely said two words to me. I felt like when I was in high school and I had nobody to sit with at the lunch table. Like I was a deer in headlights. I had no idea. So like one of my first experiences as a para, I had no clue what I was getting into. And she barely spoke to me. She barely gave me any communication, direction, anything. Bell rings, class comes in, and I'm thinking, oh my God, who is my student? Who am I helping? Who are my students? So I go up to her and I said to her, hello, Mrs. Blank, I'm here as a para, and his name is blank. And she goes, oh, I said, I don't know who that is, because I wasn't familiar with the students in this classroom. And she looked at me dead in the eye and goes, oh, you'll know exactly who he is, meaning his behavior would dictate who he was. And that was not okay. What I would have liked to have happened is if she had fostered that sense of belonging and connection, not only for me, but for the student, by saying, hey, student, this is Andy. She is Mrs. DeLucia. She is going to be your para this week because the para was gone for the week or whatever. Then I would have been able to introduce myself, have them introduce themselves. The way this started was very rocky. So therefore, I wasn't able to set any authority. The teacher was a little rude, to be honest. That child never felt a sense of belonging. I didn't feel a sense of belonging, and it created a discord through the whole class and anxiety that didn't need to be there. And so why I'm sharing this with you from my experience is that it's your job to take control of the situation. If you're walking into a classroom and you're not privy to a lot of information, or you don't even know the student you're working with, or you have no idea and you're not familiar with the classroom, please use your voice. I wish that I had spoke up in that moment, but I was intimidated. And I know that some of you feel the same way. I felt like out of place. I didn't feel like I should speak up because they're the teacher and who am I to say anything? And so I allowed myself to sit there like a deer in headlights, and my strengths weren't able to be noticed because I had anxiety of just being in the classroom and not knowing who my student was. I basically had to guess who my student was. Not being introduced, not having a fostering sense of connection and belonging can really do us a disservice in the classroom. So please, if this is at all helpful, I want you to take this into your next experience in the classroom. Let me know if this has been helpful for you. Let me know if you're going to try some of the things that we are talking about here. If you're going to try empowerment through respect and trust. If you're going to try connection through active listening and validation. I'd love to know. And if you want the rest of these modules, there are, like I said, I think there's like 7 modules left. It's for $19.97. Just say mini masterclass, and I will send you the link to the rest of them. I hope this was helpful. Good luck this year, 2024-25. It's going to be an amazing year for you. I just know it, because you are going to be so much more empowered. You're going to build positive relationships with your students and staff, and I am going to be here to support you. So have a great day. Bye.